On this episode of ResiWeek, not offering cybersecurity, and Dante Jones in smart home. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek episode 221, All Money's Green.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Access Networks and by
Blackwire Designs, the go-to distributor for the CI industry with an extensive product lineup backed by unmatched sales and system support.
Hey, welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. And this week, I am pleased to be joined by three of my favorite people and three of my favorite guests. We've got first, Heather Sidorowicz. She's the president of Southtown AV, proudly representing her Buffalo Bills today. How you doing, Heather?
I'm just peachy. I have my health, and the rest we can figure out.
That's a pretty average response these days. Next up, we have my good friend Brad Hinsey. He is the senior marketing leader at Snap AV. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being here. And last but certainly not, or maybe least, depending on how he behaves today, we've got my good friend Stephen Bronner, the owner and mouth of the South of Pro Audio Georgia. That tag is courtesy of our friend Heather. How are you, Stephen?
Man, I am freaking outstanding. It is beautiful down here today.
We are going to have a great show because I know your wife is in the truck beside you. So if you step out of line, she's going to solve this problem for me. It's great. It's going to be a great show.
Man, I live out of the lines. She's used to it.
Right, but she's normally not on the show to hopefully corral you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's start this off with a story that comes to us from CE Pro. A study that was just released shows that 73% of integrators do not offer any form of cybersecurity services. Not only that, 40% of them are not even protecting their own businesses with any cybersecurity solutions. Color me shocked, because I'm not. Heather, let me start with you. Arlen wrote a great piece on this, so thank you to you, Arlen, for this fantastic piece. They worked with the research firm Parks and Associates, who you've probably heard of, to go through this whole thing, and they found that 79% of U.S. households are concerned about data security, privacy issues, etc. But as I mentioned at the top, most integrators are not really offering this in any way, shape, or form. Heather, all we've heard about from, everyone and their mother has been how we as integrators need to own the network, be in charge of it, own everything, manage the security and the privacy of all of our customers. And yet, if this report is accurate, the majority of us, A, don't offer it, B, don't even drink our own Kool-Aid and do it in our own businesses. So let me ask you, as somebody who plays in both residential and commercial, first of all, why is it that so many integrators are not doing anything in the cybersecurity realm? And B, are you doing any of this yourself?
So I would like to see a survey that says how many AV integrators answer their phone. You might get some pretty high numbers on the other side of that too. I think, in all seriousness, AV and IT are not the same. There's certainly a gray area, and there's some things that overlap, but the companies that have started as a solid AV company, unless they've seriously buckled down and done training, now is a great time to be doing that. They're just, it's not a comfort level, and therefore they're not offering it. And that's good. Because there's a lot of people who might be offering it who aren't really comfortable with it, and that's even scarier. Once you get, hooking a TV is one thing, hooking up a surround sound, hooking up some Sonos. When you're getting into some AV security, that when someone taps in, that's a whole different beast. And you should be quite the expert and have some comfort level before you dive into those waters. So that number didn't surprise me at all.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because that was kind of my first takeaway. And Brad, let me come to you on this. Is it that cybersecurity, to put it in that nutshell, that grouping or that heading, does not really do anything to explain what we're actually talking about? Cybersecurity could mean that you've enabled, intrusion detection on, in your case, your Comcast router, versus a full-on, Sophos, threat management platform, or what have you. There is, like, Barracuda Network. There are all these crazy firewall systems that do, data checks on every single bit that goes in and out of that network. Is it that there are just too many options here that we can't really come to terms on what is a baseline for what, quote unquote, cybersecurity for the home is?
Yeah, I think so. I think you need to get down to the level of, all right, what is really most important? You could parse the data point that he had in the report about consumers really concerned about data privacy. And I think that we're now coming into a place where consumers are asking those questions and they're actively interested in protecting themselves. But it really comes down to, what apps are you using? What products are you using in the home? That's a very different issue from protecting your home from people intruding and coming in. So I think you have to parse out both of them, right? But I think that we do need to come to a common understanding, common definition of what's the baseline, what's the bare minimum that we should provide. But then we need to go and educate ourselves on what are the right tools, what are the right techniques, and actually be qualified to do that. Because like Heather was saying, if you don't know and you tell your customer, hey, we've got you protected, but you're not really, there's liability in that, but it also reflects really poorly on our industry as well.
Yeah, very true. All right, Stephen, is this asking too much of integrators to not only understand, because there's a massive difference between understanding the technicalities of properly designing and deploying a network, and then there's a whole other layer that is privacy protection, cybersecurity, etc. Is this just, and I kind of mean this with all due respect, is this out of the breadth of most integration firms?
I know one employee at another integration firm that I would trust to do my network security, and I know a lot of integrators.
I'm glad you thought of me.
Yeah, not you. So here's the thing. I know one. His name is Anthony, and he honestly might be the smartest networking guy that I've ever met in my life. However, I love what Heather said. I think it boils down to exactly what Heather said. If you don't know what you're doing, stay out of it. That's part of the problem with the rest of our industry. We get these guys come in that know how to hang a TV. Next thing you know, they've convinced a client that they can do full automation because they read it in a magazine. If you don't know it, stay out of it, or stay in it. You make me a fortune. I do a lot of takeover projects. But here's the other side of it. I think the survey is garbage, because I've talked to these clients that say they want security, and what do they have sitting on their kitchen counter? Amazon, Alexa, Google Home. These people say because it's a keyword. If you did that same survey, but you did it inside their home and looked at the proof and not just what they're saying, these people don't care about cybersecurity. If they cared about cybersecurity, they wouldn't have an Alexa sitting in their kitchen that's listening, constantly trying to sell you stuff on Amazon. They wouldn't have a Google Home that's selling advertisements to Facebook. They don't want cybersecurity. They want the idea of cybersecurity. It's just like, it's no different than putting an alarm on your house. Makes you feel good, but if you don't turn it on because it annoys you that you can't go out the door at night, then what use is it? I think
have a cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I really feel like that. I read the survey, and the first thing I thought was, they found 79% of people that really want cybersecurity. I know thousands of people, and I can't name 75 that want cybersecurity, much less 75%.
Is it not, though, most likely the way in which they worded that survey?
It is. it 100% is how they worded the survey, but the other side is people inherently want to look intelligent. People want to look informed, but when it inconveniences them in any way, they're not going to do it. So yeah, people will tell you, oh yeah, I want cybersecurity. And then you go, okay, great. Turn off all the Google tracking on your phone, turn off your voice recognition. And then they go, but what about when I want pizza? What about when I want to turn my lights on with my voice? Oh no, that's not going to work. But now your phone won't track everything you're saying. They won't do it. They won't do it. You tell them they can't use Siri, and they'd rather give up their child. So, I mean, honestly, I read the report, and in all due respect, I think that the numbers that they reported are accurate to the numbers they got. But the truth is that they probably actually only have about 13 to 14% of those people that would, if you went into their home and said, do you want cybersecurity? Yes. And you looked around, they don't have smart devices sitting around. I mean, think about it. LG, Samsung, Sony, they all have Alexa. Yamaha soundbars have Alexa built into them. Those things are in there because people want them, not because they just thought, oh, cool, I want to pay this licensing fee for no problem. So yeah, it's a cool survey, and congratulations on your survey. That's great. But the truth is the numbers are garbage.
But I think the points you make highlight the opportunity for us, right? There are a lot of consumers that won't live without certain services. And part of that is because they trust those companies. Now, whether they should or they shouldn't, that's a different conversation. But we as professionals, we have to help protect them from the bad guys and enable them to use the services and the products that they want. Right. That includes locking down certain products and enabling some of the others. And I think that's just the real world that we live in today. We're well past the point where somebody can have a home that's not connected to the internet, where devices aren't connected, period. We just have to do it in a way that the ones we want connected can, and those people and services that are trying to attack us are kept out. And I think that's really an important distinction.
Is this not the question or the conversation you have to have with your client, that to determine when they say, if they say that they want cybersecurity or they want some sort of protection when they're online, drawing a clear boundary between, are you looking for anti-hacking, spam, etc., intrusion, things such as that, or are you looking to, limit your online footprint?
Well, I think that our job, let's just face it, we sell toys for a living. No one needs 99% of what we sell. So our job is to sell a lifestyle to a client that is convenient for them, that allows them to enjoy their surroundings. It's an experience. That's what we're selling, is an experience. And if you go to the client and you say, hey, I'm going to sell you this experience, you should give them the option. And we do. I do every single job. I tell my clients, do you want me to lock your network down? And then they always ask, well, what does that mean? Which of course, that's the question that's supposed to trigger. And then you say, okay, well, here's what it does. And we go through this spiel of cybersecurity. Are you trying to do prevention? Are you just trying to do limitation? What are we doing? It's the same thing, security business. Are you selling door contacts or bars on the windows? Basically that's what we're doing here. And I will tell you that after going through the pros and the cons, man, I've got clients that have teenagers that don't even want like router limits, or what now it's called cleaner or something, but they don't even want router limits. My wife is addicted to router limits. She will turn Instagram off on the kids in a heartbeat. Don't think she won't. She is gangster, I'm telling you. But these clients, they want to feel secure, but once you inconvenience them, that's a different story. And you're right, Brad, 100%. You're right. Our job is to try to protect them, but it's kind of that same old story. You can't love somebody that doesn't love themselves. You can't protect somebody that it's like your parents during coronavirus. Mom, dad, stay home. Okay, sure. Where they at the next day? Home Depot, Kroger, whatever. I told you to stay home, you idiots. But no, they won't do that. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. I think it's a good talking point. But the truth is people are going to do what's convenient.
Don't call your mom an idiot, Stephen. All right, whether she goes to Kroger
He's a
or not.
wonderfully lovable, incredible idiot.
Hey, thanks for watching the first segment of this week's episode. To catch the entire show, please click the link below or visit avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.